Well, Shabbat Shalom again. I wanted to just give you just a couple of updates. Two things that I'm really very excited about. One is, we started our mission in India some years ago, and it started out of nothing. God just birthed it in our hearts to go, and now it's incredible. But I want to show you some pictures. Okay, we just bought them a bus. Yeah. If you could see, this is probably the most rural place I've been, and I've been all over. And I don't say that to be arrogant. I've been all over. I've been to the most rural. Southeast India, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't get any more rural. And for them to have a school and a building, I wish, I'm a big fan of contrast. The Bible is full of contrast. It's totally black or white. And I love contrast because it really tells a story. And sadly enough, you didn't see this place beforehand. But let me show you the next picture. They're just praying and just thanking God for the bus. There's Samuel, and there's Mani, and there's his brother, and there's his father, Devadas, and there's some of the teachers. This is a thriving school, guys, in a place where there was nothing. I mean, not a store, nothing. This is as rural. It took me forever to get to this place. And it's just absolutely incredible. We had vans, but it's grown so much that we had to get a bus. So let me show you the children. They're getting on the bus, and let me just show you one more. If you can go to the next one. I just want you to know that if you would have saw these kids when I saw them, it's said, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but totally unkept, no clothes on, most of them, definitely no shoes. And if you saw this picture, you think they were going to First Pres, right? Or Stratford. This is in Southeast Asia, and no hope, and our school is Hope School. And what God did through this little congregation, we did this when it wasn't this big. I mean, we're not a big congregation. We're not. We don't have thousands and thousands of people. But I hope you can appreciate, guys, please, give God some glory for what he's done. And before you go to the next picture, hold on to this, okay? The other update I want to give you is on Neve and Michael. Hopefully you're aware that last week Bernadette and I went down to South Florida. South Florida is a whole nother animal. It's I call it, Jerusalem West or New York with palm trees. It's its own thing. There are 22 synagogues in South Palm Beach County that are thriving. 22 synagogues. My good friend, who's become my good friend, it's amazing. I don't know if Jewish people, traditional Jewish people, and Messianic Jews, we're fine. We embrace just about everybody, but we're just marked by them. It's sad, but the way they see it is we're performing a spiritual holocaust on their children. So it's pretty deep. And most of you are not around Jewish people, but I grew up with Jewish people. My whole family is Jewish, everybody in my family. And so I'm in a room with 200 Jewish people and 35 rabbis. 35 rabbis in South Florida in a synagogue called Mount Sinai Synagogue in Hollywood, right between Fort Lauderdale and Miami. And it's just amazing. Everybody knew who we were. Everybody that was there knew who we were. I was prepared to just be, incredibly loving and kind and try to explain who I am. I had to do that with certain people. There's the president of the Jewish Federation there, and I spoke with her. There was the president Emunah Ministries from New York that was there, right in Penn Station, who run 25 ministries in Israel, and met rabbis. And I just said to them, look, just forget about Messianic Judaism. Forget about Judaism. Look at my heart. Just understand why I'm here and what we're doing with Neve Michael. Neve Michael is like no other ministry. I have been involved in so many ministries, and yes, a ministry has to have administration. You have to have salaries. You have to have people doing things. I didn't want to build a parking lot. Do you know what that costs with engineers and sewers and approvals? 75, 85 grand. I didn't want to do that because I see that how many orphans could I feed? But you kept coming and there was nowhere to park. So that's not my thing. I really don't want to, but we had to do that. But I cannot do that and not do that. You understand what I'm saying? Neve Michael is an unbelievable ministry, guys. It is the only one of its kind in Israel. There's almost nothing like it in the United States. When these girls are pulled out of their home at 2 in the morning, do you know what it's like for a kid who's been molested by her dad, and they pull her out, and she wants to be with mom, though, but she can't because mom stood by, and now mom's part of the problem, and they get pulled out. Where do you think they go at 2, 3 in the morning? Where do you think they go in the United States? Awarded to the state. They end up in some facility. Do you know what goes on in that facility? Do you know can you imagine the pain and suffering that kid has? And then they're in this. Neve Michael is full-fledged facility. They go right there. They have a girls' teenage crisis center. There's a school on campus. How many of you have I taken there? How many of you have been to Neve Michael? You know, I tell Bernadette all the time, when we go, the people look at me like, they give me this look like, wow, it's true. And I say to Bernadette, what's wrong with these people? How tainted are they that they don't believe anything anymore? And she goes, Greg, they don't know you. They just know their experience. And I'm like, they don't trust me? Don't they have discernment? What happened to spiritual discernment? What happened to testing the spirits? Don't you know how to do that? They have a school, they have a synagogue, a full-fledged facility, security, and these kids are nursed back to health. Like I haven't seen. I will never stop. We will never stop supporting them. And guess what? 90 cents on the dollar goes to the kid. 90 cents on the dollar. There ain't a ministry in the United States where 90 cents on the dollar goes to the kid. And in India, probably 95 cents. And in Africa, 95 cents. Have you ever heard of this, guys? How did God drop this in our lap? How are we so lucky beggars? How did we get so fortunate where God has ministries that we don't have to worry about what's going on? How did this happen, guys? I came here, there was 24 Baptists who wanted to know their Jewish roots. 24 Baptists, teach me about their Jewish roots. I said, I'm doing this for 1 year. I'll be damned if I sit with saved people and teach them about their Jewish roots. I want to see the lost get saved. I want to see things happen overseas. I want to see the nations come to the Lord. I'm not doing that. And understand, guys, I need you to understand what Messianic Judaism, what it's all about. It's not about to teach you how to be Jewish. It's to have a safe haven. So when a person with a last name like Levine or Hershberg or Rosenberg comes to know the Lord, they have a place to come where they could have their identity. They don't have to give it up. They don't have to be converted, where their kids could be raised in the ways of their forefathers. A safe haven, that's the most important thing. Yes, for those Gentiles who want to embrace their Jewish roots, for they see that they're connected, they're grafted, and they're part of the Commonwealth of Israel. Am I here for you? Come on, I'm here for you. It's obvious. But understand, we have to maintain our identity according to the Bible. We have to maintain our identity. And if I show up among 200 Jews and say, hi, I'm Pastor Greg, I'll get laughed out of there. I'm not Pastor Greg. I'm Rabbi Greg. I'm a teacher. That's who I am. Let me show you a picture of Hava. Hava Levine, Hava Levine, everybody knows Hava, but her real name is Hava. This woman in the middle is the Jewish Mother Teresa. She's the Jewish Mother Teresa. She's thousands of kids have come through. They come back to see her. These are kids tattered. Some of these kids are in closets while their mother's turning tricks in the house. Under the bed is torn and shattered, as broken as you can come. She stood before 200 Jewish people. Now, some of these people in South Florida, Jews in South Florida, they're rich, filthy rich. But sometimes, sadly enough, you can't get anything out of them, just like you can't get anything out of rich Gentiles. I don't understand it. I know people in churches, they're filthy rich, and they go, oh, we can't raise $40,000. Write a check. Why are you waiting for somebody else to do it? And she can't push. She won't do it. She won't do it. She just won't do it. She'll just speak beautifully and kindly. And she told this story about when she was young. Her father was a rabbi, and they had this vase in their house. And it was on the mantle. They were pretty poor, but that was their prized possession. And the mother would always show everybody the vase. She said, and when some important people would come over, it was no longer a vase, it was a vase. And they went away for a weekend, and Hava, sadly enough, knocked it over, and it broke into a few pieces. And she was so upset. She was so fearful. And she glued it back together. When they came home, they did not say anything. A few days later, they did not say anything. A week went by, and they did not say anything. Finally, her father came up to her and said, it never looked better. This is the story of Neve Michael. Those kids come, they're so broken. And by the time they leave, they never look better. What else would you like to invest in? What's better than that? Tell me. Life, restoring life and giving life. That's the heart of God. That's the heart of God. Let me see the next picture. I don't know. It's burning Hava. I want to read an email that Hava wrote to the 200 people that were in attendance at the meeting. Dear wonderful friends, Shalom. For me, it was such a touching and moving experience meeting all of you and sharing with you the Neve Michael story. There is no country in the world like Israel, the Holy Land, that cares so much about the child at risk. Israel not only cares about the boy and the girl who has endured such horrific and traumatic home situations, but this country, God's country, has the courage to do something about it. For our children, Neve Michael, God is an anchor and a comfort. I do believe that after visiting such a wonderful haven, one realizes how lucky we are and how grateful we need to be. Going to work daily allows me to see miracles. I get hugs from the children, I feel love in the air, and I remind myself many, many times each day to say thank you to God for all the good He does every day and all day. Thank you for being part of the Neve Michael family. Thank you, Rabbi Greg, for discovering us and for giving us your heart and soul and blessings. With love and admiration and many blessings always, Hava and the children. We have been supporting them for 15 years. I told Hava when I first met her, it's a long story because they didn't even want me to come in. I said, you'll see. Give me a shot. And I said, you don't have to treat me nice. You don't have to do anything for me. You don't have to mention me. I'm going to support the kids whether you're nice or not. Understand that. We've been there 15 years. It's been absolutely wonderful. Let me show you a picture of one of my favorite guys in the world. This is Jack Stromfeld. When I met them, Jack was 85. He was their sole fundraiser, okay? Never earned a nickel. Hava was their sole operating officer, never earned a nickel. I met him. We got in touch with each other, and he's been my friend ever since. Jack tells this unbelievable story. He was 75 years old, and he had retired, and he was receiving a wonderful pension. And what he was going to do is he was going to play golf. He was actually going to get a dog, and he was going to enjoy his life and improving his golf game. And if you're doing that, there's nothing really wrong with that, per se. He decided to go to the Holy Land on a trip with some people, and somehow somebody swung him by Pardes, Hana, and he saw this gate, and he asked to go in, and they went inside. And he said from that day, he knew what he was going to do the rest of his life. And he said they had a little get-together, and this little 8-year-old girl had just gotten in there, and she was so despondent, and she was sitting by herself. And Jack is such a great guy. This guy, when he was little, he worked, and he made $10 a week, and he gave $5 to his mother and $5 to his brother so he can go to school. He's one of the kindest, most giving men I've ever met in my life, second to none. And he asked the little girl, he said, "Would you dance with me?" And after the dance, she said 3 words to him. "I love you, Jack, I love you." And he was done. And he knew, and he's been working there ever since. Ever since he's been there, this guy. And he's been raising money and raising money. And he said, "I knew right then and there what I was going to do with the rest of my life." In an article about Jack, when he was 90 in a local paper, he said that, "I tried to retire 3 times, but God told me I have to work another 10 years. He knew God wanted him to work 10 years. At 90, you know what a bold statement that is? Well, we just went down there to celebrate his 100th birthday. So God was right. What's the next picture? Jack and Bernie. Where's Rabbi? He's talking to people about Messianic Judaism. That's where I was. Bernie was taking pictures, and I was. But I want to announce to you, they told me about a few months ago, the president of the synagogue in Boca called me and said, you know, he's on the board, and he said, "Your name keeps coming up, Beth Yeshua keeps coming up. You're the biggest benefactor to Neve Michael." He wanted to thank me, and I said, "There's no need. Listen, if you really knew what a blessing it is for us, for me to be part of this is a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer." But their teenage girls' crisis center is in crisis. It needs a renovation. And he told me we're trying to raise $250,000 to completely renovate. I'm here to tell you that Beth Yeshua is going to take care of the entire bill. I committed. And I want you to know that watching, there's no shot we could do it with this local crew. It is impossible. It's your donations. Do you know that they receive between $50,000 and $100,000 a year from people who never step foot in here? Do you know Jack is calling people in Pago Pago, and he's saying, "How did you hear about us?" Because they don't do any advertising. It's just Jack. Now it's going to change because they have a board and they have a fundraiser that they hired. "How did you hear?" You know what they say? "We watch Beth Yeshua." And we went to their website. They call somebody in South Africa, in Zambia. "How did you hear?" "We watch Beth Yeshua." Can you imagine, just by putting our messages out there, $100,000, you know, it costs $10,000 a kid to support a kid there with medicine, with education. So $100,000, that means 10 kids a whole year just because we stream live. Do you see what God is doing? Guys, do you see God's plan? We didn't want any of this. We fought against the building. We fought against streaming. We fought against everything, but God made it clear, so we gave in. Do you see what he's doing? Preserving life, not teaching people Hebraic roots. What's the good of that? Well, you want to get involved in genealogies? Listen, get involved in the cross. Go to the cross with all your sins and see what the Lord has forgiven you of. And then pay it forward, man. Just pay it forward. That's the only reason you're here. Not to be learned, but to pay the goodness and grace of God forward. And to think that Jack gets up, he's sitting there eating. This is classic. 100 years old. He's sitting next to me. We're at his dais, Bernadette and I. He's sitting next to me, and they call him up to speak at the podium, and he leans into me and goes, I'm not ready yet. I still want to eat. 200 people, 35 rabbis. And then he,
really good.
Yeah, the whitefish was, listen, let me tell you about South Florida, okay? We were trying to get a hotel for $100 a night on Hotwire. I get a call from the president of the synagogue. We want to put you up at a place. No need. We're good. I want to put you up. It's called the Diplomat. You know the Diplomat in Hollywood? You're from South Florida. You know what I'm talking about. You know? Are you kidding me? We go to a restaurant that they want to pay for. We go to a restaurant. We're looking for a burger and fries. The waiter comes out and says, the steak is Wagyu steak. I said, Wagyu steak? What's that? It's cattle from Japan. They get fed a lavish diet. I'm thinking I'm here for never fail trying to feed starving kids. My cow is eating better than the kids. They drink beer every day to 10 hours. Wait, and they get massaged 3 times a day. The cow. The cow. Rich people just don't get massaged. Their meat gets massaged. And the waiter at the end of the meal comes up to me and goes, how was it? I said, you know, I don't want to point fingers, but I think my cow only got massaged twice a day, okay? You know, celebrity, I don't know who they are, but celebrity chefs. And it's unbelievable. We don't want to stay, but it was a blessing. Don't get me wrong. It's not like, you know, Lord, don't lead me to temptation. I was like, thank you, Lord. You know, we had a wonderful 2 days, and I want to say hello also. We met 2 gals on the beach, Pamela and Marilyn. I know they're watching. Hey, guys. And anyway, guys, we couldn't do it without you. We couldn't do it without you. We could not do it. Do you realize you're parking on a lot that's paid for by people that never even step foot in here? Your kids might be eating snacks or drinking coffee that do you realize the funds that God has blessed us with that we can, and Jack gets up in the podium and says, I just want you all to know, Rabbi Greg and Beth Yeshua International, they know what Beth Yeshua means. They know what is footing the whole bill for the Girls Teenage Crisis Center. And these rabbis sitting there, these big synagogues, man, 1,000-family synagogues, guys that run Dun & Bradstreet. You know, you can't live in Boca. And the blessing that God is doing through this place, I just hope you can really, really, really appreciate what God has done in this place in Macon, Georgia.